All right, we are back and live, and it's going to be as lively as this conversation. I know we've already the conversation has already been like, woof, hot topic. We got exciting people in the house today. Welcome, welcome, welcome those coming in. We got a few more coming in. There we go. So welcome everyone. We're so glad you're here and more people in the door. I know this is going to be popular because I keep getting requests for things around accessibility. So I know this is going to be a very popular topic. I know many of you are going to have questions. Feel free to hop into the chat. Dawn loves questions. I've worked with Dawn before. I know she does. So I'm just going to go ahead and speak for her on that one. But I don't want to take up too much time. But as some of you know, because you've been here before, we do have to do a few quick announcements. And she went off camera because I was going to say hi to our incoming, our newly July crowned, I don't know what the word is, as of July 1st, Dr. Farabinani became the president of USDLA. So I just wanted to say hi. She's in the house today. So
Thank you.
anybody who has questions and wants to say hi to her, feel free to do that as well. Chat is free. Use it all you want to. But before we get to all that, I do need to make a couple of very quick announcements. One of them actually involves Dr. Benani. So that's why especially I'm glad she's here today. So you did wander your way. If you got lost in the hallways, you did wander your way into the Free Friday webinars here at USDLA, and we're glad to have you. Today, as you know, you are here because we've got Dawn Dunaway, and she's all things accessibility. So she's going to talk to you about Mission Accessible in just a moment. Also, want to announce this one was just posted to the website August 14th. So, in just a couple of short weeks, we have Rachel Christensen from NC Sarah, another hot topic. She's going to be talking about what do you need to know about today's learners. Many of you probably work with NC Sarah. If you do not, you want to come and check this out and learn more about NC Sarah and what you need to know about the learners. All right, so that's the next webinar that's going to be hitting the airwaves. Do want to remind you, most of our sessions are free at usdla.tv. Some of them, however, are in the member archives because membership participation matters. We're able to put all of these free events on and keep our conference costs down and all of those things thanks to the generous support of our members, as well as our sponsors and partners that we're going to talk about in just one second. We did just have, if anybody was there, I'm not recognizing names right off the top here, but if anybody was at the conference, say hi in the chat. We had a great time. We had virtual sessions the 16th and 17th. I'm mentioning it now, even though it already happened, because if you are a member of USDLA, you have access to all of the recordings from the national conference and many of the other previous events. We had some amazing keynotes. We had some amazing sessions. You'd want to check all that out, but you have to be a member to access those recordings. So just nudge, nudge. Hey, if you're not a member, come on in and consider joining. Now, free to attend the week of November 2nd through 6th, co-chaired by Dr. Marani, is National Distance Learning Week. This year it is November 2nd to the 6th, so you want to mark that on your calendar. They have full days of programming coming for you. They're adding sessions right now. Just keep checking the website, keep checking the webinar registration page, and we'll be announcing more information about that in the coming weeks and months in the newsletter. And I know all of you get that because that's how most of you got here today. Last thing, I need to quickly say thank you to all of our amazing sponsors. Take a quick look. We have a full range of hardware, software, and services, everything you would need to conduct your distance learning programs. If you see a name on here you recognize, please reach out to your rep. If you see a name on here you don't recognize, please reach out and learn more about them. Let some more people in the background. There we go. So we do have some new names on here since the last time we had a webinar. So again, huge thanks and shout out to Broadband Breakfast, who you might not have seen on here before. We also, at the conference, we got a chance to use Stream Alive. If you're not familiar with that, we had a webinar with them just about, I don't know, a month or two ago. You could go check that out. That is up on USDLA TV. And then finally, our bronze sponsors, exhibitors, and partners, they're equally important to us. A couple of new names on here you might not have seen for a while. Perlego is back. They're going to be doing a webinar with us in a few weeks as well. I don't have the exact date and time on that one just yet, but watch the newsletter for that. And again, we want to thank all of them, and please get to know these people because all of these people care about distance learning just like you do. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn things over to our amazing speaker today. So Dawn, thank you so much for being here and the floor is all yours.
All right, thank you, Valerie. I am going to share my screen so that you can see what I see. All right. So do you see mission accessible, building an accessible toolkit?
Good to
Excellent.
go.
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming today. Thank you, Valerie and Para, for inviting me to be a part of your webinar series. I'm really excited to share with you. I put together a toolkit, basically my go-to resources for accessibility. Like Valerie said, my name is Dawn Dunaway. I'm the Accessibility and Instructional Design Specialist at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. We are a very STEM heavy institution. So not only do we have to cope with all of the new requirements, we also have to deal with equations, which is just fabulous. But I want to encourage everyone
Thank
to,
you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
yeah, that's the challenge. Don't make you develop a twitch. But if you have questions or as you have questions, just post them in the chat as we go. I'm going to have some time at the end for, additional questions, but I'd like for this to be as interactive as possible. And when you have a question, sometimes it's best to just throw it on out there. So don't be hesitate and just get it out there. So I want to share with you today is a practical toolkit. So let's get started. Okay. Is this how your faculty feels? When you start talking about accessibility, you see them start backing out of their room like, oh my goodness, this is just crazy. Well, and I have to say, I feel that that's justified. If you look at the WCAG standards or the guidelines, it's enormous. It's vast. There are a lot of them. And then you have this urgency of like, wow, if I don't get this done by April 26th, 2027, my whole institution could be sued. So the pressure is high. And then, I've never met a faculty person or anyone at any institution who said, you know what, I got plenty of time. What you got? Let's read. You want me to redo all of my courses? I'm in. Let's go. Let's game. They have things to do. They're specialists. Their specialty is not instructional design nor accessibility. In my situations, they're rocket scientists. And they're like, oh, okay, I'll write alt text. So it's a challenge. And it's a whole nother level of responsibility that we're putting on them. And they're on the front lines. And as an instructional designer, I don't know how many of you who are attending are instructional designers, we have done a fantastic job in the past decade of getting every one of our faculty to put all of their documents into PDF, which is no longer what we want them to do. And so they feel betrayed. So we're trying to make that shift. So as we think about this, we really need to start when we start thinking about building our toolkit. What are we already doing? And the other thing is a question that comes up to me is, do the faculty and staff or anyone really need to memorize verbatim the WCAG standards? Do they need to know each one, write it down, apply it? No. What is needed is the shift in a workflow. And to create accessibility workflows and a toolkit that empowers you to incorporate the outcomes of WCAG. And that's a little bit more manageable. So let's look at, and I go back into my mission theme here. Briefing one, the toolkit. But before we get to toolkit, we have to talk about workflows. And when you start to think about what tools do I need, you need to start with, what do I do? Do I make digital documents? Do I use PowerPoints? Or slideshows? What functionalities do I do in the role that I have? And then that's where we can focus on what tools we need in our accessibility toolkit. And I've broken it down into 4 areas. So before you start creating, clarify your goals. What do I want to happen? What do I need to do with this digital document that I'm preparing? And the structure. Would a spreadsheet be best? Would a PowerPoint or a slideshow be best? Would a document be the best medium? And then what tools do I have available to me? Now, my institution is officially a Google institution. However, we also have access to Microsoft tools. And as much as I love Google, I've been with Google since 2010 and I love them, but they have not stepped up their game yet for accessibility. So we march right on over to Microsoft Word to create our digital documents. And then if we need to, we put them back into a Google format. So moving on to step 2 in your workflow. So before you create, think about what you have available to you. And then while you're building, how do you use these tools to make accessible outcomes or accessible documents in the end? We want to set ourselves up for success. And then before publishing, make sure you use those checkers to check accessibility and test the links and fix the issues. Then afterwards, get some feedback from who receives the documents or receives your course in general, and keep improving. And I have ideas of what tools we need for all stages of these workflows. So I see a question there. Does the University of Alabama use Grackle at all for Google accessibility? No, our IT department banned the Grackle. So I have not had the opportunity to use Grackle. I've heard it's good, but we can't use it, unfortunately. But Grackle, I believe, works on Google Docs for sure, but it's not available to me. So when I'm planning the toolkit, I want to get tools for each stage of my workflow. So I look for tools that will help me in the planning stage. I want tools that are going to help me in the creation stage, the testing stage, and help me to continuously learn about new things, such as Grackle, and helping my IT department understand the value. But anyway, so now we're going to build our toolkit. So when we're thinking about building our toolkit, and it's not necessarily physical tools. While it is physical tools, it's about what you do with the tools that becomes the tools in your toolkit. For example, if anyone uses word styles, that's a great way to set yourself up for success. PowerPoint, templates. I have a decision tree and an LMS page templates. And I've created a ChatGPT bot that helps me with course design and making sure everything is accessible. Styles. Does anyone use word styles? Styles is an excellent way to get yourself organized and keep your documents looking consistently in your communications. And it's really easy to do. I'm going to click the resource here for styles because there are lots of ways to incorporate them into your Word document. I'm going to move this over in front of the presentation. Can you see the mission accessible, customize, or create styles? Okay, good. This is a tutorial that I will share with you in our resource document at the end, but this will walk you through how to create customized styles. And if you're wondering what that means, if this is the first time you've heard that concept of a style, what that means is in Microsoft Word, moving it over, it's on the other screen. I'm going to just layer it here. I'm going to make it larger. In a Microsoft Word document, this looks like it's accessible when you're building. And this is what I see a lot when people aren't necessarily familiar with the programming that's needed to make sure a screen reader is familiar. In this document, if we look and we click on building accessible course content, I'll just highlight it. Now, if we go to our styles here, this is the styles menu in Microsoft Word. Right now, this style is designated as normal, which means if I'm a person, and let's look over here and see if any of them, they're all the what looks like should be headings. in this document are actually just different sized fonts in the normal programming mode. So if I'm using a screen reader, if I wanted to skip down to the list under create multiple ways, I would have no idea how to find that. Because when I view in the outline, it's all normal. I'm going to listen to every bit of this to get to where I want to find something in the document. But if you use the styles and it's designated as a header, and let's say I designate this as a heading 2, heading 2, heading 2. Let's just go on over here. Oh, there you are. Heading 2, heading 2, and key takeaway 2. And then I say 3. I promise I won't do this all. But now when I go back to our view, you can see there's more structure available to someone. Now, if I'm using a screen reader, I can tab through and go to the different headings and locate things in the document quicker. And that's, I mean, not only is it what you're supposed to do and what is required by WCAG, but it's also just being considerate to people with low vision. It's like, okay, I won't make you go through every bit of it. So using the styles is a very quick and easy way to, no, I don't necessarily want to save that. Quickly and easily add an accessible layer to your document. And the tutorial walks you through many ways of how to accomplish this. For instance, let me go back to my document, get back over here. In my Word document, I can create a style here. Like, let's say I want to come up here. And I didn't like this one. I can right click and go to styles, and I can either create a style, a different one, or I can modify it. So let's go here. And I can say H1A style, and I want to modify it. I can change it to anything I want by adjusting the font, the size. I'll make it extremely large so we can see a difference. 48, we would never really do this, but just for the sake of being able to see it visually, you can go ahead and create a new style, and it will show up in your styles. Where are you? Here we are. Why won't you get larger? There we are. That's what I'm looking for. You can see I made it too large, so you can't really see H1 anymore, but that's the idea. And once you create the style and if your document was already formatted, you can apply it to all of them. So you wouldn't have to go down and change each one. So there's a lot of ways to simply use styles that'll make your workflows a lot easier to manage and make them more accessible. So that's one of the tools don't say, go away, in my toolbox, which, that wasn't supposed to happen, go away. All right, you, move out of there. Okay, so word styles, that's a good tool to add to your toolbox for accessibility. It helps you to organize content clearly. It supports screen reader navigation. It helps you to identify the heading structure. It keeps your formatting consistent. And you can use the headings in a logical order to help a user with a screen reader follow the path of your document. And you can avoid manual formatting, which is scary sometimes. So, and it also just improves the access for all readers. So then PowerPoints, those are the two most common types of documents I see in our online courses. I see docs and I see slideshows, and of course videos, but that's a whole different animal. Yes, it does keep document size down and faster too. The PowerPoint software has already done leaps and bounds to help you create accessible slideshows. And in it, they have already created over 50 accessible templates that they have made sure the contrast is appropriate in color. They've made sure the font size is appropriate. So if you use one of their templates, you are already setting yourself up for success. And they're easy to find when you start a new PowerPoint. If you click home and go to new, and then there's a search bar that'll come up. And if you type in it, accessible templates, over 50 templates will appear, and you can choose from one of those. And then if you follow the structure of the template using the different slides that it has to offer, your slideshow is going to have a lot greater chance of being accessible with the minimal fixes. So I highly recommend using an accessible template to your repertoire. And this tutorial shows you how to go about finding them. Now, here's the one that I find is the most difficult to shift a workflow for our instructors. Like I said, for the past 10 years, we've been, you create your Word document, then you print it as a PDF. Well, a printed PDF is not accessible at all. It is an image, it's not selectable, it's not searchable, and a screen reader doesn't know what the world to do with it. So it's not great, especially if you're going into STEM areas, because even if you do get your PDF accessible, many times the screen reader still can't read your equations. So if you can stay in Word when possible, that's the best way to go about it. But the PDF decision tree, go back, is a tool that you can use and you can share with anyone else that you are coaching on how and what to do when you're thinking about, do I really need this to be a PDF, or would a Word document be just fine? Or can I just share the PowerPoint as is in its accessible format? So it goes through a list of questions. And the questions guides, the user to say, hey, do I really need to make this PDF? For instance, in question 1, is the PDF currently used? So if it is, then you need to go to question 2. So it leads you through the questions. Is the document content updated or changed at least once per year or more often? Don't use it, because when you go to update your PDF or the information in your PDF, it is very difficult to edit a PDF and remediate through the PDF. It's much easier to remediate through the original document. And in that case, unless there's a reason you shouldn't share just the original document, meaning the Microsoft Word document or the PowerPoint, use the original document. So I know it's a shift in the workflow, but that is something that I hope that everyone will consider using and putting on the security settings, so that maybe you don't want them to download it, maybe you don't want them to be able to copy it. Whoever's you're sharing your resource with, you can make those settings within the document, and then you're safe, as safe as you were with the PDF. And I've also heard the argument from instructors, well, I'm worried it won't open the same. And my response to that is going to be institution specific. In our particular instance, our university provides Microsoft and all the Microsoft Office applications to our students and whoever would be taking a course, in addition to our faculty. So there's no reason that whoever they're sharing it with in our institution shouldn't be able to open it and it should function exactly the way you've planned for it to. So if that's different at your institution, then the decision might be a PDF for you if your students don't have access to the original format. So just a thought there. So, but you can use the PDF to guide you in saying, do I really need to do that? So I find that helpful. I also find it helpful for a resource that I leave with faculty, because they can look at it later and like, as they're creating new documents. So the PDF decision tree is kind of like a staple, like, yes, put that in your toolbox. LMS templates, accessible templates. Does anyone use templates now in their courses?
No.
Good. They make your life so much easier. And a lot of my faculty, or many of my faculty, is very apprehensive about AI. I happen to love AI and Yeah, I'm friends with my AI, and it performs beautifully for me. I also have my guardrails up to make sure that none of the information that I use or the bots that I create share information for training. So we put down the security locks, and as long as they're in place, I feel very comfortable using AI. However, I know that is not always the case. So when I'm talking about LMS accessible templates, I want to offer a couple of options. And one is the HTML course design templates. And in it, they both contain the same thing. They have templates for course overviews, module overviews, course content, and assignments. But in the HTML course design templates, I'm going to bring this over here. I have a course design HTML pack. And in this pack, it's set to use our colors, but you can change the branding very easily just by changing out your hex colors in the programming. And what I have done is I have gathered the HTML for my template and pasted it into a widget here that allows the instructor to copy the HTML. Well, because it goes on down to 3 pages. The HTML is very long, but you just copy it all, and then you go over to Canvas, bringing this over, layering our tabs here, and go into a page. Go into edit. And I'm pretty sure Blackboard has the same option. I've used Blackboard, but it's been a few years, but I'm very sure they have the same HTML option. So you open up the HTML panel and you just paste the HTML that you've gotten out of our course design packet. You paste it in there. And this is just a demonstration of acrobatics, which is not a real course, but I think it should be. But it gives you an idea of like what this will look like. And then you can customize it for yourself. Now, in that idea, I have taken each one of those HTML pages that's in our course design pack. And this is how it looks in my demo course. So if you are an instructor or an instructional designer, create yourself a course or ask your instructional design department to create a course for you to make your templates inside it, and then customize them the way you would want them to be, and set yourself up so that when you start to do your course design, you can just fill in the blanks. So I have one for a course welcome. Sorry if I'm making you guys dizzy by scrolling up and down so fast. A module overview with space for a video, which is already formatted so that it looks nice. Oh, and the other pushback I've heard from instructors is that, well, if we're going to be so monitored on accessibility, I'm going to take everything out but text, and I'm going to have the most boring course on planet Earth because there's just going to be text. And it's like, that's not what we want. We've also spent the past decade not only telling you to put it in PDF, but also to make your courses very nice to look at and interesting. So we don't want to lose that either. But the templates, especially ones that have a little bit more interesting visual display, but is also accessible, can give you a really nice head start. So this is our module overview without video. We also have one. So the module overview should have been with a video, but so then we have an overview. So anyway, it just gives you a different idea of how you can lay out your content. And I have just used the course design pack to create my own template within my LMS. so that I'm set up for success. I see Kate Johnson has put something in the chat. Let's see what Kate has to say. Have you considered uploading the templates to Canvas Commons? Oh, you remember that whole breach with Canvas and where some bot broke in there and like they had to shut down Canvas for a couple of days? Well, during that, the bot got in through Canvas Commons. So Canvas has shut that down for a little while. So I think that they are trying to envision Canvas Commons. And this was on Canvas Commons, but it's not there right now. So, but yes, once they get that back up again, I will put it back up there. So yes, I would love to share, but can't right now. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. So that's the idea of the HTML packs. So if you are not cool with AI, but you'd really kind of like some interesting things in your course and a consistent look and feel, use those HTML packs, customize them for yourself, and then paste them into your LMS. However, if you are comfortable with AI, you can do some really magical things. Now this pack, scooting it on over here, opens with a GPT, that's the Accessible Design Assistant. And I make sure you read this little part here. It says, if you use the Accessible Design Assistant and you do not want your interactions used for model training, disable settings, data controls to improve model for everyone before using it. So even though I have it set on mine, you'll also need to set it on yours to make sure that your information is kept private. But in this course design pack, it's an AI prompt. And if you use the bot that I've designed, has been loaded with WCAG training, Quality Matters best practices. I'm also a Quality Matters Master Reviewer, or I was trained as a Quality Masters Reviewer. So I put all of those best practices concepts into the idea of this bot. So it should know how to make very sound course design decisions. However, it is a bot. So I would never just have it do something and not check it. So, but the prompts here are in green, and you can copy the green prompt and paste it right into the chat GPT for different course components that you might need. So like here, course overview, create a course overview Canvas page for, you just put in your course name and customize it. And I'll show you what that looks like. So let's do a module overview. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come back up to my course design assistant. I'm going to paste this in, let's say, module 3. Oops, I erased part of my word. Eating apples, because that's just what came to my brain, because I might be a little bit tired. Could have been drinking coffee. With objectives, required items, step by, okay, and let's just see how it goes. Now, if I were actually doing this and I had my content, I would paste in what I really wanted and customize this to be a little bit more informative for the prompt, but it'll do a pretty good job on its own. So it's thinking about it. It's like, why do you have a class on eating apples? Couldn't you give me something like this really a course? But okay, here we go. So it's designing the lesson. And now it's going to write the code for me. Now, of course, if you don't use Canvas, I asked the bot, I was like, hey, let's say I don't use Canvas and I use Desire to Learn or Blackboard. What do I need to do? And it said, just tell me. I was like, okay. So adapt the code for Blackboard. So it's going to give me a whole bunch of stuff. Got it. We're down to key resources. It's making some up because I didn't tell it. But I have used this for actual courses, and when I do, when I tell it what to use, it does a good job of using exactly what I tell it to, but I do always check. So here I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go back to Canvas. Hopefully I haven't gotten it out all the way. Where's my Canvas? Did I close that? I closed the course I was in, so now I got to go get it, which is always fun. Okay, so we're going to come back over here. We're going to go to modules. I'm just going to go down to my demo area. So you can see how we would just take what the ChatGPT has created. We're going to paste it into the same HTML window and come back. And here I'm being prompted to make sure I do the alt text and I have to put in an image. Okay, so my video is missing clearly because I didn't put one in yet. Let me just get this, hopefully where you can see a little better. And granted, would I take this as is? No. But doesn't it give me a head start to get started? And once I find one that I like, I can save it in my templates. So that's a way to use AI to quickly and easily design your courses the way you like them. And this is a prompt, a book of prompts that I have found that have really been helpful. Let's say I needed a content page with video. I would just do the same thing. I would say, okay, new chat, paste this in, customize it. We'll see. Maybe it'll give me a template since I didn't put anything in there. Let's just say. But the idea is this gives you a head start. It doesn't do the job for you. It doesn't design your content because it's going to take whatever content and information you've provided, but then format it into a really nice looking Canvas page or LMS page. Oh, it's going to town. It's like, I got this. I know you gave me no information, but I'm on it. Okay, so let's see what it's come up with. So I'm just going to come down here to the bottom, go to here. I'm going to take out everything I put in something else. And we have the page title. Yeah, this will give us a template. So if you just wanted a template, put nothing in and see how it does. And I don't know if this is our panorama score. So right now we have 100%. So even though we have all these boxes and we have lists and we have headers, everything has been structurally programmed. The HTML is programmed to meet the WCAG standards. So that is something that could give you a nice head start in your course design. Okay. So an AI bot, I love them. They make my life easier. If you are comfortable with AI, I would definitely recommend trying this out. I also have the bot prompt that I use to create this bot. So if you're like, I don't want to use Dawn's bot, I want to have my own bot so that it will then get into the things that you do. Because this is going to, if you use my bot, it's going to kind of just do one thing and then forget what you've done. But if you use it in your own ChatGPT or your own AI, it will learn your style and it won't share it with others if you put the guardrails up, but it will become more and more accustomed to what you want out of your course design. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's another planning tool, setting yourself up for success. And then we move into our testing tools. Now, all of the Microsoft Word products have testing accessibility checkers. So we want to always make sure we use those as our first line of defense. Word has one, PowerPoint has one. There's one I recently discovered for those who don't have like Ally or Adobe Acrobat available to them to check for PDF accessibility. However, it was not up earlier. I was telling Valerie when we first got on today, I was like, there's a resource I'd like to share. And because it's so good and it's free, it sometimes crashes. So it's very good when it's available. And then also using checklists to help guide to make sure you're giving consistent delivery of your digital documents. Those are really excellent tools to add to your toolkit. So if you are unfamiliar with the accessibility checker in Word, it is located in the top ribbon, and you just click review and then check for accessibility. And generally what my workflow is, I open it while I'm building. So it reminds me like, oh yeah, you didn't do an alt text for that because you just put in an image, and it'll just keep you on track as you go. But at the end, before I publish or send or share, I run it again and just fix whatever else I might have forgotten. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm on a roll and I'm putting in my PowerPoint and I'm like, oh, this image, that image, this, and I need this and that, I might miss a couple. So having that checker, available to me really helps me to stay on track and make sure I'm sharing accessible documents. And in our resources for this webinar, I have a tutorial that shows you where to find these in both Word and PowerPoint. So if you're thinking, oh, that's a good idea, and if you haven't run across these before, the tutorial will show you exactly where to find them. Now here, the moment of the day, drum roll, please. PAVE 2.0 is an AI-powered tool to remediate PDFs. How many of you guys have tried to use the, whoops, get back over there. Where are you going? Here we are. Has tried to remediate a document using Adobe Acrobat? Well, I have. And it is not easy. It is a whole different area of study. You could teach a class on learning how to set the reading order. Now, PAVE allows you to drag and drop. You just click it and you like, oh, you're down at the reading where you would be read on the eighth item. I really need you to be at the 2. I can drag and drop the numbers where they need to be, which is so much easier. Okay, I'm going to click it. I'm feeling brave, but I think I'm going to get the spinning wheel of death. There she is, loading, 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 but not loading. But I highly, if you don't have something already that checks the accessibility of PDF, check back in on this tool. It's fantastic. It's produced by a nonprofit organization. And because it's so good, I think is why it's not available to me right now, because I think so many people are using it. The poor little thing just crashed, but it'll be back up. It got back up before. Just keep cheering it on, because it really does make remediating a PDF easier. Now, it doesn't do an OCR scan. It doesn't do the optical character recognition scan, which we need for any scanned documents, which is unfortunate, but it does do a good job to help you fix reading order easily. It also doesn't help with STEM, so sorry guys, but there is a tool that does, and I'll share that with you at the end. Okay, there's a comment in the question. In the chat, words. Let's see. How do you deal with faculty communication when the accessibility assistant in Microsoft Word provides multiple false negatives? For example, does not accurately identify when headings have been identified. At our university, we are struggling to recommend using these assistant and checkers when they miss crucial accessibility elements. That is true. You can trick any accessibility checker to give you a score of 100% accessibility when your document is not accessible really at all. However, that's where you need that intrinsic motivation, and we do a lot of demonstrating with screen readers and how what is going to be the experience of the student, and just try to appeal to their better human side. But the checkers, they're great for people who are motivated to actually do the work. So I feel your pain there. Yes, you can't make someone do what they should do, and the checkers aren't going to necessarily make them do it either. Because if you have one header that's marked as a header, your accessibility checkers are going to be like, yay, you've done it. And it's not accessible. But yeah, you just have to appeal to their better human and pray. So yeah, that's a tough one. And also, well, here's another thing you could do depending on how much time you wanted to spend with that, checklists. When something, you can ask all of your, for important things that, I mean, you're not going to do this on everything, have them submit a checklist. And so that way they verified that they did these things. And this list, the checklist here will help you to monitor that. Like if you know there's one particular person, and we all know that person, who is not going to do it. Oh yeah. Hey, send me your checklist on that. Let's see how we did. So, I mean, there are ways you can do it, but then it just becomes a little bit sticky. So our Microsoft Word checklist is something that we provide, we do not require, but have available to our faculty and staff to let them know the really bare minimum of what they should be doing before they send out digital documents. We have one for Word. And I have two different screens, so if you see me going back and forth like this, I'm not watching tennis. Although I'd like to be watching pickleball, but I'm not. Okay, so in this checklist, we wanted it to be an empowerment tool. And in doing, or with that mindset, each one of the checklists has an embedded tutorial. So for everything we want them to do, we have a companion tutorial that's linked so that they can quickly and easily find out what we're talking about and how to do it within the software they're in. So that is, we call it an empowerment tool because I don't know about your faculty, but my faculty work at night and over the weekends, and I don't really want that phone call, but I mean, I'll take them sometimes. But this really is an empowerment tool so that they can work when it's convenient for them and they don't have to submit a help desk ticket if they can't figure out what in the world I mean by add an alternative text to visuals. I mean, that's an easy one, but just in general, if they had a question, it can be answered within the checklist. And we have the same thing for PowerPoint. Just going over the bare basics of what every PowerPoint should have and what you should do before you share it. And it has the embedded tutorials. Now see, we're about 12 minutes away, so I'm going to wrap her up. Don't worry. And this is something that Canvas supplies in their accessibility toolkit. And it is an accessibility checklist that is provided by Canvas. And I'll tell you why I think, go back here. Where are you? Why? Why are you doing this to me? Oh, there's no link there. That's why you're doing this to me. 1 second. I will put that link into the presentation. So this is a resource that Canvas has created. That's your basics on what they have identified is making sure your course is ready to share. And what I love about this resource, look in the upper right corner, use this template. And when I click that, it generates a Google Doc that I can use for my individual course and I can check off my lists. So I think that's pretty cool. It does a good job of giving a nice basic idea of what you want, and especially if you can customize it by using the template if you want to. So I like that one a lot. Okay, clicking. So our continuously improving tools. Now this is something that it's a little bit different to put in a toolkit, but to me it's one of the best resources I have is my friends. Valerie knows I ask her questions all the time. Hey, what you doing about this? Because we're all working towards the same goal. And there are thousands of us out there trying to achieve the same goal. And one of us has probably figured it out. And if we go to these communities and we get involved and we learn from each other, we have the opportunity to share ideas and not spend 8 hours exploring something, Sam over there has already figured out. Like, okay, so we learn from each other. And one of my favorite beyond the USDLA groups is the IT accessibility group in EDUCAUSE. If your school's an EDUCAUSE school, and many of them are, it might be secret, just ask your IT department, because sometimes, like the instructional design team has a subscription that's for the whole institution, but it's not necessarily like advertised that it's shared with faculty. So ask, because this is a great resource. It's a community of practice of people who work on accessibility in course design. And they know a lot. So get involved in it. There's one that we started here at the University of Alabama in Huntsville called Tennessee Valley Access in Design. This is an in-person event. It takes place 2 times a year, and we bring in people who want to share their experience and what they're doing in accessibility. We have presenters. We just had the accessibility guy, Sean Jordison. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he spoke as our spotlight presenter. And we come together and we learn from each other. We ask each other, what are you doing at your institution? And it's just a one-day summit where we just meet and talk. I invite you to join our community. I'll have a link in our resource pack, but it's a good one, and you can ask us questions there. But the one I started, which I think has gotten the most traction, we're up to almost 400 members, is a community of practice that I started with Sarah Schunkweiler of Johns Hopkins University. And she and I were having a discussion, because we were like, there's a lot of things that we're both trying to make accessible that I don't have the tools and resources to make it accessible. So together we formed the STEM Access Community of Practice. It's on both the TVA and the STEM Access are free, but it's a place where you can connect and share and just ask questions. It's a closed group. It's not something that we promote outside of our group, but you can post in the community and group source answers to things that you're having difficulties with. So that's a great resource. I posted a question the other day that I was having an issue with, because one of our instructors was looking for accessible periodic tables. And within like a day and a half, I had 10. I was like, this is great. And so now we're just building up those community resources, and it's really growing and taking off. So I invite you, if that's part of your struggles with accessibility, add that to your toolkit. So let's put it all together. We've talked about planning, we've talked about creating, we've talked about testing, we've talked about improving. So we now have like a few of the resources. And while I did kind of make it specific to what I have in my toolbox, the concepts are universal. So I hope that you'll find some things that you can put in your toolkit. And just in case you would like a head start, I put together a toolkit for you. And if you follow this tiny URL, it will take you to a Google Doc with links to all of the tutorials I've talked about today that I briefly shared with you. It'll be the tutorial and guides. We have the course design pack, the HTML version, and the AI GPT version. And then I have some bonuses. There's an alt text assistant that can, if you upload an image, it's going to give you an appropriate, depending on what your prompt, an appropriate alt text. We have descriptive link. You can put it in a website, and it's going to tell you or give you different ideas for what you could call that for your document. And if part of your job is analyzing tools for accessibility, Liza, because I like to name my AI bot sometimes. So Liza, the Analyza, will analyze the tool that you're looking at to find if they have their VPAT, their accessibility features, and whether or not it seems to meet WCAG. Now, is that something you should put in your legal documents? No, but it can give you a very good idea of like whether or not you're starting down a path with an accessible tool. And then if the WCAG tools are just blowing your mind, the WCAG Navigator has been loaded with all the information about the WCAG standards and you can ask a question based on a standard, and it will give you an answer that clarifies it, explains it, gives you examples. Now, if you're not familiar with AI assessment scale and it's AI, it's GPT. This is a lesson plan creator based on incorporating AI. If that's something you're looking to do, check that out. It's a bonus. Then we have our checkers that we talked about, our checklists, and our continuously improving tools. And this is a link to our Tennessee Valley NXS webpage. And this is our STEM community of practice. So I invite you to check those out. And then at the very end, you want to look at the presentation again. If you had a question, you can see it there. So that is what I have to share with you today. I hope you found some things that you might be able to incorporate. And if you have any questions I can answer, I am happy to answer.
I think everybody's minds are just blown. Getting some thank yous.
Thank you, Don. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
If we can just get the tiny URL again.
I'm going to copy that link and put it in the chat.
That would be awesome.
Oh, wait, I think I just, let me undo that. When I grabbed the share link, and then instead of putting that in there, it put in the HTML for the last thing that we did.
Dear.
I don't think y'all need that.
No.
So let me copy that. You're like,
Thank
oh my
you.
gosh, it's like 4 pages long.
That's just.
Okay, here we go.
That's a treasure trove. I know people are going to want that.
Yeah, I feel like my job as an instructional designer and accessibility specialist is to make other people's job easier. So if there's anything I can do to make someone else's job easier, my work is done. Now, I think I saw something in the chat. Did I miss a question? Feel free to turn your mic on if I missed anyone. Let's see.
Don't think so. You answered the one about people. People are just hard. How do you get people to do what they're supposed to do?
Okay.
I will say that from my experience, I assume best intentions. I had a former coworker who used to say, put things through your MRI, your most respectful interpretation. And you mentioned styles at the beginning, and I love you for it. I love you more than you will ever know. But a lot of times people are copying and pasting, and the styles get lost. And then that's why these negatives show up, because they've lost their heading. They've lost their way. They've lost their connection to a heading style. And so I'm just going to mention that I think sometimes you can correct some of that by reinforcing the use of good formatting.
Absolutely.
That actually cleans up a little bit of that problem for you.
Definitely.
So,
Oh, and I noticed that I was just looking at my document, the session resources. I don't have the link to MathPix, which I'll put back in there. Okay. That is the resource that every institution needs who has instructors who use equations in their courses, because MathPix can take a PDF, OCR scan it, even if it's handwritten, put it into appropriate equation formatting in text version, and you can download a Word version that can be read by a screen reader. So it works magical.
Could you please put it in the chat?
Yes. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to let you know you did get another question.
Okay.
Laura wanted to know, she loves your ideas. How do you encourage and support faculty who are trying to fix existing documents? Yeah, it's always nice if we start right, but sometimes we got to fix them.
Yeah, if they're trying to fix, depending on what tools are available to you, if in the original doc, we start with the accessibility checker within like Microsoft Word and then PowerPoint. Then we move on to the other checkers. The checklist helps you make sure that you've gotten all of them, all the basics covered. So it just kind of depends on what type of document. If it's a PDF, we ask for the original document instead of trying to start with the PDF document. If it's a very simple PDF, if you have a checker such as Panorama does a really good job in that you can remediate documents within your LMS. or within Panorama, so you don't have to go back out to Adobe Acrobat and fix it. So depending on your checkers, I start with a checker and then work my way backwards. If no checker is available, I go to the source document and open up the reading order. I open up the styles. I open up the, all the other options that are available to me to check it. I also use the NVDA screen reader at the very end to make sure that all of my work, because I've had the heartbreak of getting it all the way accessible in the original version, like say the Word document checker, and then Panorama checked it and it's like fabulous, and then I'll use the screen reader and it's like gibberish, and I'm like, well, crap. So having that screen reader as the final check, because that's really the goal, is to making sure that your document is accessible to someone who can't see the text. So if the screen reader can't read it in the end, oh yes, it's NVDA. Someone said it's NVDA, which is free. I'll put a link to it. And you just download it to your if you Google that, you're going to get the NASDAQ. I don't know why. Maybe I misspelled it. Here we go. This is the one I'm looking for. Here, I'll drop this.
There's only so many letters. They get used
Right.
for so
Everything's
many
an
things.
acronym.
I had that yesterday with another acronym. There we go.
So the NVDA is the second most popular beyond JAWS. JAWS, you can get a 20 or 40-minute free access to JAWS, but then you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that? NVDA is the second most popular screen reader, and it can give you a very good reading of how a person with low vision would view your document. It is not necessarily intuitive, but we do have a tutorial that we're working on, but it's not available yet because it's pretty it's a lot. The first thing you're going to want to learn to do when you download NVDA is turn it off, because it's not intuitive. It's like insert Q is the keystroke command, which is never on my radar. But to make sure you write that down somewhere, because it'll be talking to you and it's adamant. It knows everything. So yeah, but it is very helpful. Any other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Is it okay if I ask over the speaker instead
Absolutely.
of typing it in? Okay.
Of course.
I had an instructor in my office yesterday. She wanted to give publisher PowerPoints as optional resources to her students. Publisher PowerPoints are not accessible. Many of the publisher content is not accessible. My suggestion to her was because they were optional, and I emphasized that to her, because they were optional and they were not a requirement, that if she wanted to put the link, she should state that they are not accessible, and if the student has issues accessing the materials, to contact the instructor. But because she didn't want to go and fix all of the PowerPoints, which I totally understand. They're not hers and she's not, necessarily using them, but sometimes another resource can help the students.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done in situations like that? And do you think a statement like that is permissible?
The first thing I do when I get a request like that, and we have had requests like that, you're not alone. We ask them to go back to the publisher and ask if they have updated their materials to be accessible, because we are also, as we're moving forward with new contracts, we're putting in the contract that they must have their materials to meet the WCAG standards that we all must meet. And so that's like going forward. So hopefully, and that's what, please join the STEM Access group, because we are working to, kind of make a movement to put some pressure on the publishers, because if they're supplying things that aren't accessible, what are our instructors supposed to do? Correct. I mean, that's the reason why we have these digital resources, is so that our instructors can share them. Mm-hmm. So the first idea is to go back to the publisher and say, hey, we need accessible content that you're going to provide us with. So That's one.
Okay.
Secondly, the way the WCAG standard is written, or the way the legislation is written, that disclaimer may or may not protect you because they're still sharing it.
Okay.
So I would be hesitant to lean on that for any legal protection. If that
Okay.
makes sense. I'm not a lawyer, but I just that's what I've been told, and I'm like, so I don't know. I hear you, and I have instructors who want to share all kinds of inaccessible things because
Mhm.
it will help most students,
Right.
especially our STEM instructors who handwrite their equations. They just
Right.
want to finish their course. I mean, their class, upload their notes and be done. But we're like, we're going to have to add another level of that. But we don't want them to stop. So right now we're not, because it's not a requirement, we're saying continue, but we got to come up with a plan to make it accessible. That's why we're bringing in math picks, which will help us to make that an easy workflow.
Now, do you happen to know, and I know, and this is, I'm just curious because you mentioned it about the publisher content. If it is publisher content, is the school responsible because we're
Yep.
sharing it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I know, isn't that a booger? Yeah.
Okay.
Once we share it, it becomes our responsibility because we
But see,
decided to share it.
and you commented about this, that the faculty will go to the extreme. Well, I'm not posting anything,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to take it down.
Yep.
But yet it could benefit the students. So can we come up with something else? So
Yeah.
that's why I kind of suggested that, hoping that maybe that was a,
Now the tiniest loophole that I've kind of thought about is that there is an area in the legislation that says you can share inaccessible documents in a password protected email. So you can make an announcement that if you would like to have these inaccessible documents, I will happily email them to you in a password protected document.
and that's actually in the the doc
Yeah,
the
that's
law,
in the that's in
that
the law.
that big long word that I can't right now pronounce.
You're good. I probably couldn't get there either. But we both know what we're talking about. But yeah.
Awesome. Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I would
I
run
agree
that
with
by
Dawn.
legal
I
before
would
you
never
take my word for
publicly
it.
say,
Oh,
we know
yes.
this is not accessible. Here, go click this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're gonna
that
get
would,
sued.
yeah.
That's exhibit A.
These are great questions. These are great questions, though. But, and I appreciate earlier. Yes, you're all in this together. We're all in it. We're
Yeah,
all,
yeah.
and yes, struggling and trying our best. And
But we are finding solutions.
yeah,
And as I've been talking with these STEM, we're having a meetup in the STEM group on August the 4th. So there's a registration form in there. So if you just want to come and talk about this type of stuff with other people who are doing STEM stuff, they're all going to be there. And so that would be good to know. Like, get in there.
yeah.
So
And I think it's a good indication how important this is. We did run a little over, and that's okay because
sorry.
you were in the middle of a question. I wasn't going to cut you off. And this is being recorded. If somebody had to leave, they will catch up with us later. But most everybody stayed with you. So I think that's also an indication that this was awesome and very necessary and valuable. And you're going to come back, right?
Sure.
Of course you are.
I'll be happy to come back. I always love you guys.
I'll twist our arm just a little bit. Shub, shub.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody has any other questions that you want to ask now, you can do so. Otherwise, I am going to end the recording. I'm not going to shut you out of the meeting. So if there is a last minute something you want to say privately that's not on the recording, just hang tight for 1 second. But Dawn, thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you to everybody who was here live and to those of you watching this replay in the future. Come back for another USDLA event. We'll see you soon.